the career, Mac snooping attack is a very enjoyable attack.
I welcome Manosh Brabagar Malai for this podcast. This is a kind of a podcast where it's not about just talking about the databases, which is just going as a boom. It's not about that. Leave the fact that there is a technology which is more disruptive, but yet we are supposed to build ourselves as engineers over the course of time. And trust me, there's no other engineer than Manosh to just give you that kind of an intellectual move for you to understand, hey, technology is not complex, but you have made it complex. And over the course of time, I think one of the best people that I met over the DB world, because a lot of times when we think of people who talk DB, they say no SQL, this, that, but he relentlessly said that you're just wasting money and building a solution, but you're not architecting it for a fact that it's need to be cheap. And I was pretty shocked for that. And I'm very glad that I have Manosh sir for this podcast. And let's just start this podcast then.
It's my pleasure, Vishwa. It's my pleasure. Whatever the word you put into the desk it's great for me. I'm not that much worth what you said, but I myself build every day. I make my better. Thanks for your kind word. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, sure. Let's get it started. What was your journey as a student? Because I want to really get to know that, because a lot of times people don't say the fact. People don't say the fact it was tough, and they say we did this, we did that. But I want to know, what was your journey as a student?
I'm a lost bench student. Yeah. So my academic is very bad. I'm an average student. I did my schooling in Sri Shankara Vidyashrama Higher Secondary School. Then I moved to, actually I am a DTED guy. It's a diploma teacher education. Then I feel that I am not a right guy for teaching. So I quit and I moved to computer science. During that part itself, I started my computer world, computer journey actually. I started to learn hardware and networking initially, because during my age, the people will always first taught Intel P4 and they try to assemble, they put hardware, install OS and everything. That is the place I started. In South India, particularly in Tamil Nadu, people know CSC. CSC is a great brand here. After finishing our annual exam, we will go for a computer education. We started that. That is where I started my computer science. But I'm very frankly, I am a last bench student. I'm a weaker student in my class. Then after finishing my diploma, I get into computer science, BCA, Bachelor of Computer Application. Mostly, I don't go to college. My mom kicked my ass and send me every day. But very pleasure and very proud to say is my sister is a college topper. She have a 2 gold medal, both MCA and BCA. She did a gold medal. In my whole family, I am the weaker student, as I told, because you see, where is the gold medal, where is the average student? So it is totally unbalanced. Very frankly, when she is doing BCA 3rd year, I am BCA 1st year. My sister is 3rd year, I am a 1st year student. Because of the diploma teacher education, I started my career. Then during that time itself, before doing BCA, I have into RSC, Red Hat Certified Engineer. During that time itself, Red Hat certification is very famous that time and very hard to achieve also. Now people are doing just like that, but that time it's quite different and challenge. Then I started to go to Kerala to get into RSCSS, Red Hat Security Specialist. I started very much love into Red Hat Linux, and that is the way my academic and Red Hat Linux everything started. But very frankly, I'm more into Linux because I don't know, it's happened very naturally to me. I don't give more importance for the college academic. I give more importance to the Linux part and everything. So that is the way everything is started.
Yeah, but I wanted to really get to know, how did your journey for this love of Linux started? Because I know that you started as a Linux administrator, and relentlessly you told that there is some hope in it. Because a lot of times when you think of Linux, probably some people might say, hey, it's just ls minus la command or things like that. Your life is settled, but it's beyond it also. Your servers are running on, your server is running on a Linux based operating system. Your VMware, everything is basically having that file system which is based on Linux. So I just wanted to know your journey as a Linux administrator.
So I like to thank few people for that, because I don't get a very opportunity or challenging opportunity during start of my career. During that time, I was working with Acute Network and Acute Technology. So it is one of my friend, Mr. Vinod Kumar. During that time, I was into Linux basically. Actually, Vinod is managing like a freelancing part. He get lot of project from the freelancing website, right? You know that now also people are using freelance. So you got project. The challenge is satisfying Vinod is very challenge than client, because that is a hard part, because he is coming from business background. He always get to focus on project, not about the technology. But instead of satisfying a friend, so what I'm trying to say is, uh, that time there is no any cloud services like for SMTP. We got a service like Mailchimp something, and SMS service. There are a lot of company now running in the big cloud service, but during the age of 2000 or something like that, everything will be built by the organization. SMTP server, SMS server, everything will be built by the organization from the scratch. Not only just an application or API. They need to build a very robust SMTP server. From that, they need to build all the business logic. But that is the place I got a lot of opportunity to learn very in-depth request or understanding the customer requirement. That is the place I matured my Linux actually. When I finish my RSCE or RSCSS, I know from the book I can use this command and how it will work and everything, but the requirement of the actual world is totally different from the learning from the book. We know that basically I will learn why this is happen. For example, when I'm typing a hostname command, I always feel to know it is going to affect some places in a file. It may be etc host file. So I always root to that place and I try to understand. That is the one thing I did correctly in my life. So I understand the Linux little better. That I'm just saying for an example that when I'm giving IP address and giving a place another next place position, I'm typing the IP address and subnet mask. I always think why I need to give can I there is any option to open a file and type it myself everything instead of give. So I understand that where every command somewhere it is regex, it's doing some regex operation background, it's updating a file. So I feel that I always try to explore that kind of option while in the learning part. So that is the place, whatever the new thing my team is taking to the technical part, I can understand the problem and I can easily, I very frankly telling, I also Google and I also find a solution, but every problem will have a unique use cases. So I try to understand the problem, I try to give the solution, but the only thing I always feel is learn A, B, C, D, then learn word, then learn paragraph. Then you write poem or story, that is up to you. But I also learn from ABCD. So that is the only thing I recommend community people also who are the young generation which is coming to the DevOps world or SRE world. Start from me. Don't skip anything. That is very important. That's how I started everything.
Yeah, but more of this networking and the security is something which is cool, because a lot of times this kind of a security aspect doesn't pop up in our head. Like it says like, hey, there's a trade-off here. Let's make it more secure. Let the performance be a little low. It's fine. But sometimes when we want performance, there is an performance which is in our head, and security is somewhere which is our last priority. And over the course of time, what have you understood about the security which has to be in every system that we are building right now? Because you told me that you were still plug and play of the same old buttons that you had and things like that. But I wanted to understand, like, what was it all about when there was networking and security which was there in your hand when you were learning it?
So basically, right, now people don't have that much opportunity what my generation of people had. I mean that batch, the people who is coming for the infrastructure part very recently, last 5 years, very few people got that deep understanding of network and security. Because when you're handling security, people need to be very good at the OS infrastructure and network infrastructure. That is the gap what people right now having. You see that most of the people right now, they don't have an opportunity to install OS itself. The problem starts from there itself. People, they are just going for AWS, selecting the AMI image and pressing the next button, the OS is there. But when we go for 7 years before from the current time, we need to install the OS. We know what we are doing, what kind of file system design we are doing. Everything is in your hand. So you understand what you are doing. What you did, the problem will come for that difference is there. Then for the networking part, people know everything very plain and understand, like they design their network. Otherwise, they learn from the mentor, the colleague, whoever it is designed by them, because then only they can manage the network. So we know what is switches, we know what is router, we know what is the RJ45 cable, RJ45 jack, and what is Cat5, Cat6, Cat5e cable, and how the cables, in what way we need to crimp the cable is also very important. So we know what is happening behind the scene. So that is a very, very interesting part people are missing. I'm not telling, I'm not complaining, but it's actually people miss this knowledge.
Yeah.
So you see, right, when it is, why I'm telling about, right, when during the time, when I started the career, max snooping attack is a very enjoyable attack. Max snooping attack. They will start using some sniping tool and create. They're flushing the MAC table in the switches, and everywhere the particular machine IP will be placed. Whatever the packet which is coming to the switch will send the packet to the certain machine. So this kind of attack you will explore during that time. But now people are coming, they know few Linux command, they know few something, they did whatever they are seeing in the Google or run book, or they are getting from their colleague. That is the challenge in security part, right? Right now there are a lot of segregation and a lot of services we are getting. That is the part we have a lot of gaps in understanding the security. And what are the big companies are having or hiring a lot of people from outside. In-house people or team, which people who are inside the company have less chance to learn. So security part, I always recommend that the people who is in-house need to much better knowledge what they having and how they can secure it. Um, the thing is, there are actually few people are doing very nice, very good, great. But after this pandemic, right, I'm seeing very drastic changes in the security visual. Very drastic change. I don't know how much you suffer when we are getting new clients to our organization, right? I am filling nearly 5 to 6 forms to get into a company. I need to fill all the thing. I have this, I have this, I have this. This is the security what we are having. This is now it is turning around. Little turnaround in the security part, not in networking, but people after this pandemic, everyone doing work from home. Lot of changes have happened in the security world. Everyone is very precaution after ransomware, after a lot of things is coming and affecting the organization. Now security part is evolving more, and they are very precaution, particularly the BDA, right? Very damn, as a DBA, It's very hard to support through the VDA, but in the security perspective, we understand we are doing it. But now VDA is rocking the security balance between the vendor or the remote employee kind of places. VDA is very good balancing between the security and the comfortable, but we are losing little comfortable, but it's okay to without compromising the entire system. That is okay.
Yeah,
That is the best.
that's what it is, because we are not compromising the system. Leave the fact that the system is compromised. You're
Yeah,
compromising the data,
yeah, that is very important.
because it's the data which we want. Let the system go down at any given point. There's a fact that there is going to be a data which is going to be still there in the system. But I am amazed by the fact that a lot of companies, even today, like sometimes, when I went for an interview, even they ask me, what's the port number of a TCP, what's the port number of an HTTP? And that's the basic which is being asked. And I was like, man, I think interviews are also changing their standard, because
That thing very lot changed lot in interview, Vishwa. When I'm now also I'm hiring people and I'm training myself in our company, right? The beauty of my DBOps is we train one-to-one train. We hire college, myself, our founder Karthi, co-founder Kapilesh, another co-founder Vinod. Everyone will sit with the people who we hired and we train them personally. And very important thing is what I personally saw, and I personally tell to the people who the recent generation, when we attend the interview, personally I attend the interview, they will ask like how many pins we have in the RJ45, how many pins we even RAM socket, right? We have a DIM socket, we call as a dual in memory slot. So in DIM socket, they will ask how many coating color we have, what is DIM, what is SIM. Lot of thing is changed. Lot of the whatever you said, right? Now people only focus on the tools. How do you work on Jenkins? What are the option we are having? They'll tell lot of story and they will come into the system. They know how to crack it.
yeah, that's
Interview
true.
always
That's true.
changed actually, but it is different actually. Now a system is evolved. People no need to tell how many cable, how many pins, because that doesn't going to help the institution to work better. But in the even in the technical part of the Linux or the DevOps or security, people are lagging in lot of places. Like I recommend to they need to be very good on the IP subnet level. They need to be very good at the core Linux level. Without doing this, you cannot be a great DevOps or SRE engineer.
That's true.
That is even you need to be a very good developer, right? You need to be very good at this thing because you are developing, which is going to be run on the baby is Linux. That baby only carrying your software, right? So you need to be very conscious what you are doing. So that thing I recommend people to look into in their work or in the day-to-day learning.
Yeah, but what's that infrastructure comparison that you can do today? Because you saw the on-premises, but suddenly you had an touch of OVH, and now it's AWS, Azure, and there's a lot of flavors to it. There are something close to around Terraform has more than 70 vendor support. Pulumi has more support for all the other cloud aspects also. But I wanted to understand, like, what was that infrastructure which was different over the course of time? Because there is now a comparison which is made from the old school plus the new school people. Like today it's all click, 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 done. But back then it was all like, hey, where's the GPU which has been burning and what's it all about? But I just wanted to understand, what's the comparison between the infrastructure that you are seeing today and what you have seen over the course of time?
The one answer what I'm having is I don't say infrastructure. I'm able to see only the console page. I will select, I will select and I will choose the instance type. I will run an instance. During that time, we will see the physical servers. We will touch the physical servers. We will configure the RAID devices, everything by hands. We'll get a dirty instance. Now it is cool. It is totally different. People are seeing in the console. They only bother about how much RAM I need to give, how much CPU I need to give. What is the disk I need to give? I need to give a provisional IOPS or I need to give a normal disk. How the disk IOPS is calculated? It based on the provider, cloud provider. So people only seeing this. So in the past or in the old school age, it is totally different. We need to order or we need to tell that I need this kind of SSD or this hash rate, or the RPM need to be 7,200 RPM or 12,000 RPM or 5,400 RPM disk, or I need a SATA based disk or a IDE based disk. It is totally different. Now people don't know what is SATA, what is IDE, because that doesn't matter now. People only seeing the console. The very important thing I like to highlight, right? What is the different? You may think why Manosh is talking to old information which is not recorded by the secretary. When we work with the new client, one of the biggest client in the Indian industry, what they are running their MySQL Aurora or RDS, I think, I'm not sure. They are having nearly the biggest Aurora, which is in the Aurora's instance in the Asia region of AWS. They are having biggest thing, but they are complaining that the server performance, that is MySQL response, is very slow. They have, for example, I'm saying they're having more IOPS. Like they're telling, I have 300 IOPS. I don't know why it is saturating. What happened, right? When we check default, you know that the block size will be 4 KB. In the disk level, whenever the data you are storing, that it will be 4 KB. In some way, in some disk, they have very old disk system which is behind the EBS or behind the Aurora, which is less than the 4 KB. I think it is 2 KB. What it is doing for accessing a 4 KB data, it is need to execute 2 IOPS. So this kind of analysis or understanding you need this old school knowledge. So then we escalate to the AWS team, then the senior team which come into the picture, then they only understand the problem, because some people, the newer generation will understand the 4 KB, what is 4 KB and why it is 4 KB. Then you need to talk about the OS concept. I don't like to go into the OS concept. Memory system is very, very interesting topic, but it will take a lot of time. So in disk, all the thing will be stored in the 4 KB byte. So 4 KB. So unfortunately, when they are formatted the shared storage by the AWS, they designed as a 2 KB, because it may be, I think it's a old SAS or NAS, I think. So the particular disk creating the problem here. I have 3,000 IOPS. When I calculate it, it can basically achieve that whole operation in 1,500, but it is taking 300 because the behind disk having 2K IOPS, 2 KB. So instead of doing one IOPS, it required 2 IOPS. So this kind of understanding, even in the cloud provider, because they are doing very, very big environment. So in that place, they also don't have some control. They miss something. So if you are handling that kind of big infra or helping at this like heterogeneous kind of environment, you would require some old school knowledge to handle that. That is very important. This is the place you need to be very good at what you are doing, understanding your problems and everything.
Yeah, but what about the stack team that we are now talking about? Like learn MERN stack, you are good to be any cloud engineer. Learn
So
LAN stack, learn LAN
yeah,
stack,
right.
you are good to be anything. But stack doesn't have anything to do with your cloud. It's just the inferences that you are just putting on the cloud and saying that, hey, this is what I'm doing over the course of time. But I want to understand, what was your experience in all these stack teams and the cloud architects that we are talking about? Because a lot of time it's all between the developer and the solution architect that we always play around with. Like probably they might say, hey, don't use this, use that, and things like that. But I wanted to know, what was the stack funda that is going on in this era which we are talking today?
So you mean that the stack funda is about is the infra or the application stack?
Yeah, infra also, and also I'm talking about regarding the application stack as well.
Basically, now as a infra end, right? People are more into Go language. Go. It's totally based on the requirement. I'm not that much right now. I don't have much expertise on the application stack places. Maybe I don't like to give any unsupportive answer. So in the infra end, right? In the infra end, a lot of thing has come into manage even the cloud like Ansible, Terraform. They both are rocking the market, and even Chef Puppet, Salt Stack, which is very competitive with Ansible. But Terraform is little different. They are supporting for multi-cloud environment, but Ansible and Puppet, Chef, they also work with the cloud support plugin, but they are very good at what they are doing, like instance state change configuration management. In the infra level, even after the cloud emerged, uh, I always recommend to the newer generation people who is very interested to come into the cloud or DevOps SRE, learn operating system. That is one thing you need to do. Very damn what you are doing is learn operating system. Buy a OS concept book. Maybe if you are a computer science student, damn sure you will be have a one book OS concept. Buy a OS concept book, learn it, all the chapters. Memory, that will be divided into memory, CPU, processor, and network. Now security also they added, virtualization and security. Then you need to be focused on Linux commands. Then focus on shell script. Then start learn Docker, or then whatever you are interested in, GitLab or Jenkins based on it. Then you focus your interest on Ansible or Terraform. It's very highly demanding skill in the market. I recommend to go with Ansible and Terraform, Docker, Kubernetes. I'm not into Kubernetes much, very frankly. I'm very unfortunate. I am in the DB. I'm not an application engineer or application support team. So I'm morely into the DB company and DB engineer. So I don't got more chance into the Kubernetes things. So I don't like to give command on the Kubernetes, but according to the craze in the market, people are doing Kubernetes. So basically, these things are very much important. Like very as a DevOps lifecycle, you cannot miss this component. So according to me, as a infra guy, as a database guy, I always tell this is your stack you need to learn. Start with OS, end with the configuration management tool. In between, you'll get everything.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But engineering a problem statement using MongoDB, what is it all about? Because a lot of times it's not about building one pipeline and just being satisfied. Hey, I've done this, I've done that. But there's something beyond it in MongoDB. It's not like Mongo being imported and you write some code. It's like trillions and trillions of calls which happen over the course of time. It probably millions of calls in a day that can be happening. But I wanted to understand how difficult is it to engineering a problem statement using MongoDB?
MongoDB is actually a wonderful database. I love MongoDB because it is very much good with Linux. That is the one straight answer. MongoDB is very, very love with Linux. You don't. So when you going for, we also working with other database, MySQL, Postgres. I am not the expert in MySQL, but I understand MySQL little better. I'm zero with Postgres, so I don't like to comment on it. I know that MySQL have a lot of configuration parameter, and it is very have a traditional life cycle for MySQL. It is very long back it started. So it matured long and very nice way. So, but the only problem what I feel with MySQL is lot of configuration parameter you need to take. Very highly parameter based thing. When I talk with my friend Karthik, is the founder of MyDBOS, he will talk about lot of configuration parameters with MySQL. I tell stop stuff. MongoDB only have 4 config line. I will finish the whole thing. Why you are doing it like that? So, but the thing is, MySQL is for different purpose. Mongo is different purpose. This is the one thing people forget to understand when they are starting in. When you are trying to create a good application for their customer, they are very fancy toward the branding. Open source is also kind of branding, you know that. Now I'm talking MongoDB, I'm branding MongoDB. Now I'm talking MySQL, I'm branding MySQL. That is what people are doing. That is very frank. Everyone need to understand. We are doing meetup, we are doing sessions, we are doing everything because we are telling we are good at what we are doing. That is the thing. So in that place, I don't complain any database because every database is designed for some purpose. There is no any holistic database gives open a door for every problem. It will be very specific purpose, specific problem, specific solution. But now the database people are people who is developing the core system kernel of database. They are trying to achieve everything. Like for example, MongoDB is trying to achieve transaction and NoSQL. MySQL is achieving NoSQL. That is JSON. I believe that is not needed in some cases, but they are trying to compete. But you are actually failing your goal. Your goal is different. Your goal is different. You need to focus on your goal. No need to compete with the guy which is totally different. Parallel is running in different role. Why you need to compete with them? Because MySQL is not there to solve that problem. MySQL is having help the in community in different way. So that place. So and also tell the client whoever I'm working with. Even I get a lot of call from my clients is very top position. They will call in some time and they'll tell, Manosh, I need to know one thing. Manosh, free. Yes, sir. Please tell. Will MongoDB scale? It is not about MongoDB, sir. It is about application and it is about why we choose MongoDB. That is the one thing. It is not about MongoDB. Even MySQL will scale because it's solving the content problem. The thing is, I have recent talk. I think last week I had a talk about replica set, MongoDB replica set. Before that, I think I gave a talk with how to give a better performance in MongoDB. In the talk, I clearly state one thing. Whenever you are designing a database, designing an application, you need to understand what you are going to write, what you are going to read, and how you are going to manipulating the data. When you are answering these 3 questions, then you can choose your database. Don't directly go to the market, Google it, what is the best database in the market. They will tell 3 things. One is MySQL, one is Oracle, one is Postgres, one is MS SQL, one is Mongo. This 5 database is the market 5 top database. God's sake, you need to, which is favorable for you, you can choose the database, but don't choose in that way. Understand the real problem or what problem you are going to solve through your application, what kind of data access pattern your application is going to do. Recently, I have worked with one client. They are handling nearly 24K operation per second. 24K operation per second. It is not a big, but it is good value. 24K. But all are update operation. All are update operation. They come to me and they ask, Manosh, MongoDB is not scaling, man. You try to help for some time. We are moving for sharding or we are moving for some other database. Right now they are in MongoDB replica. I said only one thing. Give me some time. We will look into it. We will find what is the core problem. Then we will give a solution for it. Before that, don't conclude anything. Give me some time. I took 1 week because I don't know their application nature. So I had a couple of calls with the application development team to understand the application behavior. Because we don't work with just DB. MyDBOps know very clearly. MyDBOps very clear on that. we always work with the development problem. It is not DB problem, it is a development problem. They write something, it is DB only responding for them. So we always try to create a lot of calls with the developer to understand the initial level of application behavior with the DB. So when I had a couple of calls with the developer, and I understand the scenario how they are talking with the DB. I tell the real problem. What they did is they at the initial of a transaction or the connection, they creating one document. That is one row. In the next few minutes, they are taking that row and updating another row. For one connection, that for one transaction in RDBMS will work. For one transaction, they are doing nearly 218 operations for one transaction. But they are not updating. They are deleting and inserting another document. For example, let me clearly tell the point. I have a document, name Manosh, age something, mobile number something, and address is something. The document is created, and I'm getting a new update. What I'm doing is I'm taking a same document. Instead of updating a field into a document, they are taking the old document, they are putting a new information in the document structure. They are deleting the old document, inserting a new document. They are doing this for one connection 200 times, nearly 200 times. How the update will scale? How the system will scale? So system won't scale, because if you do an update operation, you don't need to take the entire document to the memory. You need to only move the part of information and you can insert it and you can flush to the disk. But so instead of updating, you are doing read, you are doing write, and you are doing delete. So but you need to do only two operations: read, update. Two operation, they are doing three operations for one connection. For one connection, I'm talking. I cannot disclose a lot of information, otherwise maybe people will understand little better. You see the problem here. The problem is not DB. The problem is the application is not properly designed to communicate with the database. Maybe they fix this problem at the application level. Instead of handling 24K connection, 24K operation per second, even they can go for 50K operation, whatever the hardware resource they are having right now. The problem is different, but people will complain on the database. So this understanding is required.
Yeah, but I wanted to know, like, because we are talking about this data modeling, data aggregation architecture and things like that, but there is nowhere a clear-cut definition for everything that we do. Like, let's say this DynamoDB is awesome, Cosmos DB is awesome, still a no SQL, but that doesn't mean that there is no SQL involved in it. You can still write an SQL code, you can still write those tables, but it doesn't mean that it's no SQL at all. But what is the conceptual understanding which we are missing? Because when we are doing some data modeling in MongoDB, right, probably there is a huge gap between what you said. There are three operations which is done. There are many calls which are happening just to update one rows. But what is it all about when we are data modeling using MongoDB?
So data modeling is very, very important equally to the RDBMS. What people hear that no SQL, they literally think, so Aryan, you don't need to bother about the schema. You go and create whatever schema you record and it will work. That is a damn understanding people are believing. It's not about only Manosh. Whoever in the MySQL community, we are giving a lot of contribution to the community through the talk or seminar. They only tell this point, please focus on your schema. Because in NoSQL world, people are very much aggressive, or they need to be very, very much good in this schema. Even before they are going for application development, they first define schema, then only they will define the application. Because they have that constraint, duplication, everything is be the blocker in RDB. But when they hear NoSQL, they literally think that you don't need to bother. Array, you can go and write whatever you need. They think like that and they read and write whatever they need. But it is not like that. When you are doing it, you won't scale. I have a good example for that also. I have one client. One day, it's a night actually. Suddenly, a client called me and asked me to join in a meeting. I said, okay, fine, we'll go. And then join, the developer is complaining, Manosh, I'm getting this error. What can I do? What is the error, sir? Your document size is maximum 16 MB you have reached. Sir, MongoDB only supports 16 MB document. So you reached it. That is the error. Why you are reaching? I have a document to write, so I'm writing 16 MB document. That means in MongoDB, when you are inserting one row, in MongoDB it is called as a document, in a row is in an article. Inserting a document, one document size will be the max of 16 MB. So what the developer is achieving is trying to achieve is whatever the data he is having is just trying to dump in one document. Then he is complaining that he have a problem. Then I said, please design some schema, understand your problem. Think how to store the data, think how your application to access the data, then write your logic. Don't just go and whatever. NoSQL, you store everything in array and sub-document structure you can take. No, that is not a way. First, you need to think one thing. Whatever you are writing in a one document, are you going to access all the information in one call or not? Suppose a part of information which is not going to be accessed in all the operation, you don't need to be store that information there. You store into the separate collection, you can access whenever it is required. For example, I have a dashboard, student dashboard. I have a document. In student dashboard, I don't need to store all the homework detail in a single document because I'm not, for example, I'm saying, I don't, when people are opening a dashboard, a staff is opening a front dashboard, it's going to tell the student, this students are, this many students is school today, this many leave, we are getting that information. If you are projecting that into the dashboard, that means you are accessing the document every time whenever someone open the dashboard from the mobile or the, what people will think, MongoDB have an option to store all the detail in a single document through a sub-document structure or array structure. What they will do, they put all the information in the single document. But when they are accessing the single document in a dashboard, this unwanted mark detail also loaded into the RAM, which is not required. So if you are putting some information which is not frequently accessed by the end user, you don't need to store that information in the same document structure. You can store it into the separate document. Even you can use lookup. Lookup is quite costly in NoSQL, I accept it, but instead of getting all the information every time, that is little better actually. That place, the schema design is very important, Vishwa. I always, in all my talk, I always tell that please look into this. Please look into this. The schema is the only place you see. In frankly, in NoSQL, particularly MongoDB, lot of problem can be fixed by index creation, but very interesting problem only end with schema. This is the I always tell to my team. If you are not able to fix lot of problem through index, then the problem is with the schema. That is a very important schema is very important. I recommend to see my I recommend people to see my session, which is I think I also talk in the MongoDB community also. Maybe that session may be the right answer. And MongoDB also have, in MongoDB YouTube channel, they also have a lot of good discussion blogs, very nice blogs in the community. You can read it and you can get better understanding. Schema is very important. Please don't ignore schema and NoSQL.
Schema is the king here. Nobody can say no to it because
literally schema is the king. You are right. Your word is right. Schema is the king in NoSQL.
Because a lot of times when we think of like, hey, they are providing me everything, I need to just pick and place. Industry has not grown that far in such a way that it just knows what's there inside your brain and it starts bringing down a schema. Of course, JSON is very tough to read. Of course, schema is very hard to design, but that's why you are a DB engineer in a firm, right? And I wanted to know, like, because of this aggregation pipelines that we are actually building over a course of time, when you think of something like, I can say something like, we have an ML based solution right now. Like I am more into ML, so we have an ML based solution, but there are queues and queues of requests which pop up, and there has to be a database which has to store. But I wanted to know, how is this aggregation pipeline going to help all the application? Because this is the key factor in which not just MongoDB, but these are the pipelines which we are supposed to be touching upon at every given point. Like, hey, there is a request coming up. What's my aggregation strategy and what's my aggregation pipeline going to be? So I wanted to know, what is this aggregation pipeline all about? When you are more into the MongoDB, right? I want to understand that thing from your side.
So that is also, you need to have some basic Linux. So aggregation pipeline is more or less the Linux pipeline. I also have very good talk in MongoDB channel. Very few people gave it in very interesting talks, but its very straight answer is Linux pipe is not much differ from the aggregation pipe. So what, this is one answer. The next answer is why I need to choose aggregation. Why don't I achieve everything in the normal code operation like find? Why I need to? So the aggregation is little, it is quite different from the normal code operation, find operation. If you are doing some analytical, or if you are doing it to restructure your schema and you need to find some other different way of projecting your existing document, this all only achieved by the aggregation pipeline. So for example, as I told, right, I have a student information in a document. The student information also store the information like the mark details. So we have a 4 SEM mark, SEM 1, SEM 2, SEM 3. So that will be stored in a array. That semester mark will be stored in a subdocument. That is another, inside array we have a subdocument. Each subdocument is a each semester, SEM 1, SEM 2, SEM 3, SEM 4. So you like to project this semester markers into a separate new document structure from an existing document. This all only achieved by the aggregation pipeline. Then you need to find the max. I have a 4 semester. I like to know every individual student which semester they score high mark. For example, Vishwa, Manosh, X, A, B, C, D. Maybe Vishwa scored good mark in semester 2. No, I am a weaker student. I will be in lifetime. I'm not going to be stored a good mark. But for a joke, for example, I stored a good mark in the semester 3rd. So I need to have this kind of information, but I don't like to put this logic or pressure in an application, and I need to achieve it the DB level. Aggregation is the player. That is the very important. So the second answer is this one. So when I need to choose the aggregation, this is the place. So how to design an aggregation? The thing is, as I told, aggregation pipeline is a similar kind of Linux pipeline. You need to filter as much as in the prefix position itself. Whatever the information, whatever the data which is needed for the, not needed for the next pipeline, you try to filter everything from the first initial stages itself. So that people will have a golden rule, try to use match in the prefix position. In aggregation pipeline, there is a stage called, every pipeline we call it a stage. People always try to put a match into a prefix. So what match will help you to do, it filter all the unwanted document and only pass through the required document to the next stage. So another very important thing in the performance perspective, when you are creating aggregation pipeline, pipeline will be divided into two things. One is streaming pipeline, another one is blocking pipeline. Streaming pipeline is, it's like a stream water. Your open a water tap, the water will become, it's like a match. This match and everything called a streaming pipeline. That sort and group, this all called a block, because it need to get all the data from the previous pipe or previous stage, then only you can group and give the answer to the next stage. So this stage will be called as a block stage. So you need to be very precise that where we need to put the block stage, where we need to put the streaming stage based on your requirement. You also think from the performance perspective, you also think about don't compromise your output. That is very important, business requirement. But you need to always try to achieve the best performance from the aggregation. This is the final important thing of the performance perspective is you need to, the index only work in the match and initial stage. You need to club the sort. If you are using sort, you need to always try to club the filter plus the sort in a single index. So the sort will be merged automatically in the initial stage of the match itself. That is the beauty. So the sort will not happen there. It will be happen here itself, because the index will be, the B tree index will be sorted the data based on the sort condition itself. So the sort will be excluded there. The stream will be happen very smoothly. So this are the tricks you need to do. This is very small, lot of things is there. When which some stages will have some problem, some operator have some problem. There are different, we cannot talk in one call. So this is the very basic thing people need to be following in the aggregation pipeline when they are designing. This is the cool thing.
Yeah, I think you pretty much covered all of it. It's not about the fancy MongoDB or the DB thing that pops up in the market. It's all about how you architect it. Over the course of time, what is it all about and what's your purpose? And I think you pretty much summed up all the things in a very short span. I think, thank you so much, sir, for this podcast. And it was amazing talking to you.
It's my pleasure, Vishwa. It's my pleasure.